Welcome to HR Secrets. My name is Victor, and I am one of your hosts for this year's HR Secrets. This year, HRSA will build upon its podcast where we explore different trends in HR and provide students with more info on the HR industry. For this month's podcast episode, the theme is talent acquisition and recruitment. We are pleased to have Candice Choi, a talent acquisition lead at Technical Safety BC, to be joining us on speaking on this topic. Hi, Candice. How are you?
Hi, Victor. Thanks for having me.
So for our listeners and viewers, could you please introduce yourself and your role at Technical Safety BC?
Sure, of course. My name is Candice Choi. I'm the talent acquisition lead here at Technical Safety BC. My role is to lead a very small team of recruiters and the overall talent acquisition function here across the organization. So some of the key parts of my work would involve like building and implementing the talent acquisition strategy, building partnerships, evolving the talent acquisition process, and educating leaders and candidates on recruitment expectations and advice to get prepared for hiring.
No, yeah, for students like me, we always get confused when we bring up talent acquisition and recruitment. Many people kind of confuse those two terms at the same time. So for students who don't know, and even for me as well, could you tell the difference between these two different terms of talent acquisition and recruitment?
Yes, definitely. That's a very, very common question. I think a lot of professionals and a lot of those in the business industry as well are still confused with what's the difference between recruitment and talent acquisition. So you'll hear the words kind of used interchangeably. In my mind, in my opinion, the main difference is that you've got traditional recruitment, which is more of the process from posting a job when you know there's a vacancy already to filling the position, like to the offer and hire point. That kind of would encompass the traditional recruitment process, whereas the talent acquisition process is so much more than that. It involves a strategy, whether it's like marketing, social media, it could be all the intricate pieces that come up at the beginning and the forefront where you're maybe dealing with some unknown or passive interactions. So you're looking at the attraction strategies as you're building out different perspectives before you can convert those into people following in the recruitment process. So the other end of the spectrum is that talent acquisition also involves a lot more of the onboarding process, right? So you know how we're always saying that the candidate experience is so important, so is the new hire experience, and that transition between being a candidate to being a new hire and navigating through this unknown territory of starting in a new company, you know, you're not quite sure what it's going to be like. So it's really setting up those expectations and being more inviting, more comforting, really encompasses the full talent acquisition strategy, I would say.
Mm-hmm. All right. So based on your LinkedIn, for those listeners who don't know, Candice has had a really lengthy journey surrounding the talent acquisition and recruitment portfolio. So no worries. I mean, the more experience, right? So from your recruitment coordinator position at TELUS and now a talent acquisition lead at Technical Safety BC, what is something that motivates you to keep working on this particular area of recruitment and talent acquisition for such a long time?
Yes. Well, I'd have to say definitely the variety of the learning experiences and the amazing people that you would interact with along the way. I mean, no day is ever the same. I mean, how often do you get invited to do a podcast one day, you're attending a virtual career fair the next, and then you're meeting like data scientists and people out in field ops the next day, right? So there's a lot of variety in terms of the interactions and who you're meeting. It's all about relationship building. I've always been a curious person where I've asked a lot of questions, and naturally being an interviewer was a part of that. So it kind of just fell on my lap where having those unique conversations and interactions really kind of defined the work for me, and it's what keeps me motivated. What keeps the work fun and engaging is the interactions with other people. Working in talent acquisition really gives you the best of both worlds, where you can keep a finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening out in the external market, like what's happening in the talent market, where are the jobs, where are the hot jobs, and then on the other side you've also got like you get to see what's happening within an organization. How is it being created? What are the interesting dynamics and struggles that you're seeing? But also, how is that work impacting not only the company, but within our communities, and then also beyond that, right? So that's where what I would say is the main reason why it keeps me in talent acquisition as long as I have. I think in more recent years, I've had the opportunity and being very grateful and fortunate to become a mentor and a leader in talent acquisition, where I can now not only take my skills that I've learned and all this experience that I've gained over the years, but I can share it with others now. And so that's what really gets me excited, helps me wake up in the morning, is to really feel that sense of that rewarding feeling of being able to now share my craft, be able to share the experiences with others, and now see them develop their potential, see what they're passionate about, and find out what makes them happiest, really. So it's a very humbling experience.
So according to a strategic recruitment processing outsourcing provider, CELO, businesses around the world are facing skill shortages and need new ways of approaching talent sourcing. And one way is placing a far greater focus on more general soft skills and foregoing industry-specific skills. What is your take on this specific trend?
That's a really great question. I often go a little bit back and forth between this question because I find that yes, we definitely need the soft skills and we can definitely train on the technical skills. But at the same time, there are some industries where that training is quite lengthy. And we're still going to need somebody who's going to be able to know the technical pieces to help pass on that craft, to share it and mentor and coach those new individuals who are starting out in the industry, especially when it comes to safety, right? To ensuring that all those safety guidelines are in place and that things are to be being done properly. I would say that, definitely the human skills are super important. I don't like to call them soft skills. And we want to make sure that we have that perfect combination and the balance between skilled workers and those with the potential to become our future skilled workers of the future. So, the newer faces are going to be those with the innovative ideas. They're coming to challenge the status quo. They're bringing in new perspectives. That's something that you can't buy. You can't rebuild that once you've been in the industry as long as somebody like me has. So those fresh eyes are super important, and those perspectives. And vice versa. You've got somebody who knows the ins and outs of every single piece of machine that they're potentially working with. Until that person gains more experience and exposure to that, that new person may not feel as comfortable working with those machines unless they have an expert along with them to help mentor and maybe go through like an apprenticeship or a co-op or internship.
So we know that the economic recession kicked in early last year, and a lot of people were left stranded with no jobs. As we see the economy cruising in the recovery stage, what advice would you give recent graduates, people looking for a job, or just anyone looking for a co-op? Any advice in the eyes of a talent acquisition lead?
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of different avenues which you can choose. I would say kind of the basics would be to build up your LinkedIn profile, first of all. Make sure that you've got some good information in there because recruiters live on LinkedIn and they're probably, more than 50% of the time are going to probably find you on LinkedIn before they find you anywhere else. So that's a really great way to get involved in the market. Also keep a finger on the pulse in terms of what's happening, like where are the job opportunities, what industries are hot right now. You may discover that there are roles out there that you didn't even know existed before, and then you're reading through these job descriptions and you're like, wow, I could do all of that. And so why not put yourself out there? I think that's the best advice that I could give, is just like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Reach out to individuals within your network, or even like to people like myself who have a larger network where you can lean on that, and we can help introduce you to other people to start those initial conversations. You don't know how valuable a 10 to 15 minute coffee chat with somebody can go, because I can promise you're going to learn something new. First of all, two, you're going to make a new connection at least, and it's going to open your eyes to so much more. What I think I know in my own history in terms of being a student and looking at that transition point into the working world, what I noticed as a student was I always gravitated to those companies with the big names, the big brands that I recognized, right? But, don't discount some of those smaller companies, some of those startups, some of those other places that are maybe more local or niche, because you could learn so much from them as well. So have those conversations, really discover what's the best fit for yourself, right? Because it's a two-way conversation. It's not just, employers that are going to be picking through students to see who are they going to be their new grads and a part of their employment staff, it's going to be you saying, well, these are my preferences. This is how I want to, build my career. And you're going to guide that decision as well. And it's going to be a partnership.
And specifically touching on your first point about the LinkedIn, I know, especially us, most of the students listening probably are in BD. They usually emphasize the need for LinkedIn. What makes, like, especially because you're in a talent acquisition portfolio, what makes it so attractive to go towards LinkedIn and look at like potential employees through that platform, and like what other platforms do you use anyway?
So on LinkedIn, I would say because it gives a good understanding of a bit of your background in terms of like your hobbies, your interests, your preferences. You can even see what types of groups somebody is connected with. So if you're like connected to a whole bunch of finance groups, it's like, okay, the finance sector is like, okay, this person's coming our way, and so they get ready and they want to connect, right, and get you into some of those frontline some of those frontline roles, or maybe a co-op or internship program. Other things are like just being involved in the conversation. So you'll notice that people are constantly posting stuff up there. If you're engaging online, people are going to find you, and in the most interesting ways too. To answer your other question in terms of other platforms, I would say, we're doing a lot of virtual career fairs lately because it's the best way to connect in current times with a lot of different people from all areas of the world, right? So that's another opportunity where you can expand your interactions. These events are also a great way, like say if you don't have any leads in terms of who you might want to connect with at these companies, go to these career fairs, because then you'll at least get a name of a representative at their organization. You can connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I met you at this event. Would you be able to connect with someone on this particular team? Or can you tell me a little bit more information about what this company does? And that's like you're in to, start that conversation and get things going. If you don't like social media, or if LinkedIn is not your jam, you can also think outside the box. Think about the people that you're connected with. Is it an aunt? Is it an uncle? Is it a cousin who's in the industry? Is it a friend's parent who happens to work in that area, right? You never know who could connect you to the area where you want to go. So keep an open mind and keep going.
Always stressing the importance of having a network.
Totally.
Always. And before we end off, what is the best way for our students or viewers to contact you?
Okay, so probably the best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn first. Start there, and then we can take the conversation from there.
All right, great. Thank you. So this concludes our first episode for season 2 of HR Secrets. Thank you so much, Candice, for your time and insights on talent acquisition and recruitment. Hope you all have a great day, and don't forget to follow our social media for our next podcast episode. Thank you.
Thanks, Victor.
We also want to give a huge shout out to all our sponsors. We have CPHR, SFU BD, SFSS, AJL Glazing Incorporated, Trimark People Solutions Incorporated, BMO, SFU Student MasterCard Partnership, Coast Capital Savings, Strive Recruitment, Swim Recruitment, and Goldbeck Recruiting Incorporated. Without their support, our events and initiatives cannot be hosted successfully. Please see our website if you are interested in learning more about them. Thank you.